Last week, at a small family-run bakery in Melbourne's southeast, a man in his 80s lost control of his car. That vehicle, and it is clear to see, the CCTV is very clear, slammed past tables in the street. They went flying. 3 people, and we're talking like less than half a metre, maybe less, like slammed past these customers who've had to jump out of the way. A staff member was cleaning up a table that was in the path of this car directly, and they'd only just left. The people, like, this is terrible stuff. And the customers are having coffee, the waiter is doing their job, half a metre to the left, and someone is dead. So firstly, it's lucky that no one was killed. Secondly, the economic impact on this small business. And I'm going to speak to the owner of that bakery later in the program, so stay listening. And she says police told them at the time the driver will be taken off the road, but he was back at that shopping centre a few days later. And her point, and I think it is a well-founded one, and I'd like to get your views that she is making. If you are drunk and you lose control of your vehicle, or you are drunk behind the wheel, you lose your licence. But this person was back driving the next week. So on an emotional level, I feel for this driver. No one wants to lose their independence. But it is well and truly over time, I think, for drivers who are over the age of 80 to be retested. They do this interstate, but we don't do that here. And why is that? Is it because Vic Roads and licensing has been privatised and sold off for money? So what's your view? If you are over 80 and you're listening, are you okay with having a medical check, having a driving test? And I also think if you have elderly relatives and you have to make the decision for them, this causes incredible stress in the family dynamic. And I really feel for the families involved in this. Like if it's your grandfather, your grandmother, if it's your father, your mother, or if it is you yourself, did you make the decision when you got to a certain age and you said, okay, I'm actually not coping with this driving? Because there's been a spate of these out of control cars. Why should it be up to families to make that decision? I think if you do the right thing and you say, okay, let's make it a government thing, as they do in New South Wales, and say everyone goes at the age of 80, you have a quick test at the GP, and then you have your licence retested. And you may go, I thought I was a good driver, but I'm actually not as competent as what I was, because this person now that nearly killed someone, and it's happened before where people have been seriously injured. And to the point, I often think even in my 40s, the other day I was explaining to the kids, because someone overtook me on 2 solid white lines, and I was saying to the kids, you can't go over the double solid white lines. And then they were asking, but what about the dotted line? And what about the slash line? And what about this? And I thought, do we all need to be retested? Like, does it get to the point where maybe every 15, 20 years it's worthwhile saying, hey, lady, you're in your 40s, it's time for you to have a retest? I'd probably like to have a retest and see if I've forgotten anything. I don't know. But again, right, it comes back to the budget, doesn't it? It comes back to the fact that the state government simply doesn't have enough money to pay for licensing tests. And I don't think the elderly, like, it should be part of the pension. They shouldn't have to pay for that. But I think it's a debate worth having. And when I speak to the owner of this bakery a little later in the program, the significant impact on their business, I think, is worthy of discussion. On the line is Danielle with the Drive Time Tip. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Now, you own the Kerry Road Bakery in Glen Waverley. I imagine you had a bit of a tough time. Would it be nearly 2 weeks ago now?
Yes, about that.
Yep. So what happened?
So we were working away as normal, and all of a sudden there was a loud bang, and we had a car through the front windows of our shop. So we have 3 tables out the front on the footpath behind the blind, and an elderly driver had driven in, and as he was slowly coming in, he's then possibly mixed up the brake and the accelerator, because he's all of a sudden accelerated and gone straight through the middle of 2 families sitting on either side and through the front of our shop.
Danielle, when you look at the vision in one family in particular, like, you're talking less than half a metre before he would have struck the person, and the fact that your waiter or your staff member had to basically jump out of the way because they were cleaning the table in between.
Yes, and one of their staff, because all the counters got pushed back inside, she got flung into the back of the wall because of the pressure, because it pushed all the counters about a metre back in the shop.
She okay?
She is okay, but yeah, she was a bit sore. But generally speaking, we would have someone on the table in the middle, but it was just lucky that one of the families had taken a seat away to sit together at this table beside it, and he's just happened to go in the middle of it all. But otherwise, he would have killed someone. Yeah,
it's frightening, the vision itself and the speed, as you say, with which it happened. So were you in the shop at the time?
My partner was. I wasn't.
Yep. And so what was the reaction when this driver got out of the car?
Well, there was no reaction, but he went around to the car and looked in there, but the driver had absolutely no idea what he'd done. He was confused. The ambulance driver was saying that they needed to take him to the hospital and his car was getting towed, but he didn't even understand what had happened. Absolutely no idea, didn't apologise, didn't seem to realise that anything had even gone wrong.
And the reason you wanted to speak to me, or one of them today, is because it's about the fact that police said they'd take his licence off him, but that hasn't happened?
Yeah, so my partner at the time had just asked him, is this what's going to happen? And they said, oh, no, he'll never drive again. Don't worry about that. And then exactly a week later at around the same time, he's pulled out the front of our shop again and is still driving. So we've since called the police and said, what's going on? And they said that they're going to look into it, but they have to do a report and they can't just take it away instantly, which we thought. Like, his car had the mirrors sticky taped. It had been in multiple accidents already. It was damaged all around the car before this even happened. And the fact that he doesn't even seem to realise that he nearly killed people and he's back out the front of our shop a week later and hasn't even come in to apologise, I don't even think he remembers he's done it.